This little thing contains a broccoli sprout shot, and there are some really interesting research suggesting that this could allow endurance athletes to train more without getting overtrained. And from just taking one single shot of this, it should also be able to lower your blood lactate during exercise by 12%. In this video I'll try it on myself and interview one of the researchers to try to find out if this vegetable might change the sport of running and if it's something worth trying for us non-elite runners. So after a quick research, it seems like broccoli sprouts have some well-researched health effects due to its way of reducing oxidative stress. And this is the first study right here that has looked at broccoli sprouts in the context of training and endurance performance. And this is really interesting and shows some promising results for sure, but it's also quite complicated to understand with these words like isothiocyanates. So not the easiest for me to understand what that actually means, but one of the authors to these studies is actually an old colleague of mine from when I worked with the Swedish national orienteering team. So let's give her a call to better understand this before I try it myself and see if it actually can lower my blood lactate levels. I'm joined here by Lina, who was one of the persons behind this really interesting study around broccoli sprouts. So first of all, I'm just curious how you got the idea in the first place to start studying broccoli sprouts in the context of training and performance.
Yeah, it might sound very weird to start working with broccoli sprouts and exercise training, but first of all, working with broccoli sprouts in research isn't anything new. It is pretty well researched due to their content of a group of phytochemicals, as they are called. This group of phytochemicals is called isothiocyanates, so pretty hard to say.
Complicated words.
So we usually call it ITC, much easier to say.
That's better.
Which are derived from something called glucosinolates, found in the brassica family of vegetables. So broccoli, kale, cauliflower, rocket, and they have been involved in studies investigating their effects on disease development and those ones that are related to some kind of oxidative stress. So nothing so far within exercise training. So we are the first to conduct like a proper exercise training study with broccoli sprouts. But the areas that have been researched is more within different kind of diseases, such as cancer prevention with inhibiting tumor growth, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. And Philip Larsen, my main supervisor now, and his former PhD student, we did a couple of studies to investigate what happens when we push exercise training a bit too much. So we did detect some kind of, or a few different maladaptations when pushing training load too much. And what we did see was an increased oxidative stress in our muscle biopsy samples. We did see mitochondrial dysfunction, so maladaptation on the muscular powerhouses, as you can call them, diminished performance improvements, disrupted glucose tolerance.
So you saw those studies and thought, okay, what happens if we try this on athletes that trains really hard?
Yeah, exactly. So just because of these studies that are around the area of oxidative stress, and since we saw these maladaptations in our overtraining studies, so Philip then thought, what about using broccoli sprouts to see if they can protect from these oxidative stress maladaptation from exercise as well? So could that lead to some protection during hard exercise periods? And could this also help us to improve performance as well?
So based on this first study that you did, can you in a simple way as possible explain how these broccoli sprouts can have a performance enhancing effect for endurance athletes and runners?
So the first study that we did was a training study. So a randomized controlled crossover trial. So we had recreational athletes, so it is athletes on a little bit lower level. Just because it is a training study, it's harder to find the elite athletes that are willing to let us manipulate their training for a couple of weeks. So we wanted to do a training study where we had 2 weeks or 1 week separated with 4 weeks of washout and then a second week with pretty hard exercise training, so daily intervals, all out intervals, so pretty tough. And 1 week then with juice on broccoli sprouts, and 1 week on a juice on alfalfa sprouts as a placebo. So all the participants used both kind of juices just to be their own control. So to try to put it in a simple way of what we saw was reduced blood lactate on fixed load, which wasn't really what we expected. It was a prolonged time to exhaustion on the post-test at the week when they used the broccoli sprouts, and also to connect it to the recovery aspect. So we saw the reduced muscular oxidative stress, but also the improved glucose tolerance.
And I know that you now have some really good runners, like Sweden's best runner, Andreas Almgren, who's taking the broccoli sprouts. How do you advise elite runners to use it in their training?
In a bit different ways, actually. So we like to design studies with athletes in mind and what kind of problems that they experience or how we can use it in an everyday life aspect. Because when we are doing our research studies, it's pretty standardized. We need to have control of everything. What we are doing now is kind of using athletes as research participants, but in a more uncontrolled manner. So in the beginning, it was more of the instructions to try this on single sessions, just because we have seen some kind of acute effects as well. And some athletes that have been using it during more prolonged time, or a couple of days at least, during heavy training. Since we are in contact with a lot of different athletes to receive their feedback on the usage of this as well, we do get very good feedback, actually. And what is very interesting with this is, first of all, it's an individual response, but it seems to be a little bit connected to the athletic level as well, which is in contrast to many other things. Better athlete, actually the better response. So we have some data from athletes to provide this hypothesis at least.
This like oxidative stress that the broccoli sprouts can help lower also like plays a role in the adaptive responses that one can have to the physical training. So for someone like me who trains way less than this elite athlete, and for amateurs in general that trains say less than 7 hours per week, could you like hypothetically have a like less positive response to the training if you take a high doses of this?
Yeah, we think so. So the way we look at it is it's not something that you should use continuously, like every day, all year round. So more related to these kind of high intense periods or highly loaded periods.
Okay, yeah. So for amateur runners, it's like only take it on weeks where you know you're going to push yourself to the limit when it comes to like overtraining, or use it as an acute thing before a competition or a really intense workout.
Yeah, because as you said, we think that we need some kind of oxidative stress and these free radicals to stimulate adaptation to reach an improved level as well. So we do not think that this is something that you should use on low loaded periods or days. So more towards the high intensity sessions and also tougher periods, or if you're going to do repeated competitions and so on.
So tomorrow I'm going to try this for the first time, and I will do a really simple test doing a double threshold day back on the treadmill there to keep things standardized with 3 6-minute intervals, one below my lactate threshold, one pretty much at my threshold, and one above my threshold. And then I will measure my blood lactate levels after each. And then based on Lina's recommendations before the afternoon workout, I will take this broccoli sprout shot 3 hours before that session starts. And then simply compare my blood lactate levels to see what it says. Looking forward to run. I'm ready for the first test. No broccoli sprouts whatsoever in my system, so I have set everything up here. Here I have the lactate testing equipment, and then the shoes I'll be wearing for the warm-up, and then the Alpha Flies for the intervals, which I of course will keep the same. I will keep everything as similar as possible on these two tests, so let's see how I do without broccoli sprouts. It is 3 hours until my next workout, so it's finally time for me to get to try this broccoli sprout shot. So this one is called Nomio. It's a Swedish brand that has based this product from the studies that we discussed earlier. And it has a really simple ingredient list. So it basically says that it contains broccoli sprouts, 80%, lemon juice 15%, and then sugar 5%. And it says here that it's reduced lactate buildup to improve performance. So let's see if that works on me. Let's see how it tastes as well. That's always interesting with these kind of products. Oh yeah. It doesn't taste good. It tastes like really compact bottle of intense vegetables. But I guess that's a good thing with these kind of products. At least for me, if they don't taste super good, I think the placebo can be even higher, because then I believe that it's healthy and good stuff. Yeah, didn't taste good, but it wasn't too bad either. I think the lemon and that little sugar they added helped with the taste a bit. So now it's just a waiting game to see what this does to my body. It's now been 3 hours since I drank this one, and I'm getting ready for my next session. And I will try to keep everything as similar as possible. Same shoes, I've written down the exact same paces I will keep during the intervals. So basically everything is the same. The only thing I changed is the lightning to keep that broccoli theme, and that I drank this one. And the lightning should probably not affect my lactate levels that much, so let's see what this does to my body. Now I'm really curious to check on the computer to see how my data is compared between these two sessions. Okay, so I have looked at my blood lactate levels and will share it with you, but remember that I am only a single person who did this single test on myself. So this study that we talked about and the upcoming studies on this topic will say a lot more, although it is interesting to try it myself. So before we look into my results from this test, based on the current research, will broccoli sprouts in a way change the sport of running? Well, I would say that we will for sure need more studies and it being tested by more athletes. But based on this first single study, it looks really promising. Both the acute effects of lowering the blood lactate levels, but maybe mostly that they saw that using this, athletes could train really hard and actually improve from it instead of getting overtraining symptoms and these kind of maladaptations. So if using this in a good way can allow the best elite athletes to push the boundaries of training even more and train more and recover better and get better from it, this could be a game changer. But for us amateurs, eating broccoli sprouts will not turn you into an elite athlete. Training is still what will make the real difference. And if you, like me, not train that much and hard, as Lina said, this might actually make you adapt less to your training stimuli because of the reduced oxidative stress. But used when needed in your training, this might be something to try out for the endurance training geek like myself. If not only for the performance boost, also for all the other health benefits that broccoli sprouts seem to have. So let's look at my results from my testing on myself. First of all, I didn't feel that much of a difference. Perhaps I felt a bit stronger on the last interval above threshold in the afternoon. But here on the first interval below lactate threshold, I had the exact same lactate levels here, 2.3 millimoles, and then on the one around my lactate threshold I had 4.1 without broccoli sprouts and 3.7 with, so about a 10% difference there, which is pretty much in line with the findings in the study. And then for the one above threshold I had 6.3 without and also 6.3 millimoles with, so no real difference there. And this is actually in line with what the research says, that the biggest difference is to be seen around the lactate threshold. So will I be using this going forwards? Yeah, I will probably take it before tough races or if I will do a really tough workout. And I look forward to seeing the upcoming research around this topic. Hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching, train smart, have fun, and I will see you in the next video.